Well, hi, everybody. My name is Rachel Dials, and I'm the Deputy Director for Ashland Parks and Recreation. And thanks for coming to our Parks and Recreation Department presentation today. Just a couple reminders before we get started if you have questions while we're presenting, go ahead and put them in the chat and we can answer them after we're done presenting, or you can wait until after we're done presenting and then ask them. And just during the presentation itself, just make sure that you are muted during the presentation to help with the sound. And we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to introduce our fearless leader, Director Rocky Houston.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, everyone. Those who haven't seen me before, hi, I'm Rocky. I'm the Parks Recreation Department Director. Been here just over a year. Gosh, it's getting close to a year and a half now. We have a small presentation to go over, and Rachel and I will be going back and forth. So we're going to go over the department overview at a high level. Oh, back one slide, please. Talk about our park commissioners, the charter, how to engage with them or the department. Go over some projects that we have going on. One of those big ones, of course, is our strategic plan. And then hopefully provide a lot of time for any questions you may have. All right, with that, Rachel, let's get rolling. All right, so our department is broken out with our commissioners as being the policymakers, our elected 5 commissioners overseeing the policy side of the department. And then I, as the director, implement those policies and help operate our 811 acres and 43 parcels and senior center and all of our recreation programs. So we have 3 divisions. So we have park operations. You're going to see the most number of people. We have, I think, 23 of our 39 staff are located in maintaining our 811 acres, including the golf course, all of our buildings, etc. We have our recreation division, which Rachel is oversees. We have 3 sort of core sections there. We have our environmental education group. You may think of it as the nature center, community gardens, interpretation, etc. We have our recreation section, which includes the pool and the ice rink and all of the recreation programs that you're able to offer through our programming. And then our volunteer and special events. And they that person helps manage our Japanese garden, as well as manage all the amazing events that we've had over the last year. Anyone come to any of our concerts? So they worked with Epic Ashland and with the Folk Collective there to have those put on, and we had everything lined up to where everyone could just show up and enjoy the music. As well as we have around, I think, about 8,000 hours of volunteerism that occurs without our park systems, and this person helps coordinate and manage all those volunteers and those activities. Next slide. So when we, again, think about each one of those sort of sections, we have our operation that has 20 developed parks over 811 acres. Most of those acres are within city limits, but of course we have property outside of the city limits in the watershed area as you go up towards Mount Ashland. We have 56 miles of trail throughout the city that we maintain. And our operation team completes projects to repair park assets. So if a mirror gets broken or a roof needs to be installed, they do all that kind of work again to preserve those assets and make them safe and enjoyable for everyone. On the recreation, we manage over 200 programs and events per year. That includes the pool, the ice rink, and the golf course. Seniors Center, the seniors program, we have the senior center that we operate. It's open 4 days a week. And in addition to all the wonderful programs that occur there, we also do a lot of wayfinding to local social service agencies. I'm preparing to have surgery, and gosh, it's amazing how many phone calls and people you have to call and coordination. And again, they're there to kind of help connect people with all kinds of social services needs and appointments. And we have a lot of people that come in actually, and they help schedule those appointments to where you can get some of those appointments for what kind of Medicare, Medicaid,
And then
Medicare.
participants.
I think we have someone with their, perfect, saw the thing came up there. Sorry, thought it was a question there for a second. To schedule appointments for that, for taxes, all kinds of great things. And then environmental education, which is, of course, operates the nature center, manages our community gardens, and operate programs for all ages, for seniors, kids, and those kids that are at heart. Next slide. And I'll turn it over to Rachel.
Well, thank you, Rocky. So these are our elected parks commissioners, and the Parks and Recreation Department is overseen by 5 elected commissioners. And our mission is to provide and promote recreational opportunities and to preserve and maintain public lands. Here's some history. So in 1908, it was the establishment of the Parks Commission. This year marked the official beginning of the dedicated public park system in Ashland, and this was prompted in part by the local women's civic group and a charter amendment that was passed by voters. It also established at that time a permanent tax levy that ensured consistent and dedicated funding stream controlled by the newly elected Parks Commission. Having a dedicated funding stream was crucial for long-term planning and development that separated the parks budget from a city's general operating funds. And this all happened in 1908. There was also property dedication. City-owned land along Ashland Creek, which is now known as Lithia Park, was officially set aside and dedicated for park purposes. And then in 1916 was the Lithia Park grand opening. It celebrated the completion of that park. The park design, just the beginning of the completion of that park. The design was influenced by landscape architect John McLaren, the designer of San Francisco's Golden Gate Park. And the park itself was named for the mineral-rich Lithia water that was discovered nearby, which you all have probably tasted, the fountains that are right in the plaza there, the Lithia water. In 1947, the Recreation Commission, which was composed of Parks Commissioners, was established. And this action did merge the city's recreational programming responsibilities with the Parks Commission duties, creating a more comprehensive parks and recreation system. This addition broadened the Commission's mission to include not just preservation and maintenance of land, but also the promotion of recreational and cultural activities. Then in 1990, the Open Space Program was created. And this commitment, this signified a commitment to protecting and acquiring land beyond the established park boundaries, focusing on natural and undeveloped areas for environmental preservation, trail connectivity, and resource management. And then in 1995, Measure 5 and Measure 50 were not allowed. So basically what happened is from here on forward, the parks budget became reliant on receiving an allocation from the city of Ashland's general fund. So in essence, with the loss of Measure 5 and Measure 50, the dedicated funding source that we had was lost as well. Let me go back, sorry about that. The Parks Commission, roles and responsibilities. The Parks Commission is an elected body and is responsible for policy making for the Parks and Recreation Department. The City Council, which is an elected body, is the fiduciary agent, so they approve the Parks and Recreation Department budget along with all other city budgets. Our department is responsible for operation implementation of policies and ensuring that all city rules and regulations are followed within that. And then we also have an engagement piece to the Parks and Recreation Commission. There are many ways that you can engage. We have the Parks and Recreation meetings that are in person, or you can watch them on RVTV. Our meetings are held on the first and second Wednesday of every month at 6 p.m. in council chambers. The commissioners, our website is full of resources, and you can give testimony at the Parks Commission meetings. You can email the Parks Commissioners off from our website. And you can also sign up to get our Parks and Recreation digital newsletter, which is on the gold icon on the right side on the main Parks and Recreation website. So now I'm going to turn it back to Director Houston.
Thank you. Before you change the slide, I just want to let everyone
Yep.
know that on our webpage, we have a newsletter. There's a gold icon on the right side. And if you want to keep up to date with what we're doing, you can always subscribe to that and you'll get in your email box all of the newsletters we have. We are going digital for our recreation guide or our fun guide. I think that's what we call it, Rachel, right? A fun guide?
Yeah.
So that you'll be able to do that. And it's kind of a cool little thing. I don't know if you're into faux books, but it makes the page turning sound as you read through it and everything like that, and you can save it to your computer or your smartphone, as well as my emails there. So if you have questions, you can email me directly or contact our customer service line. I also want to put a plug in as in about a year, we have 3 of our park commission positions that will potentially be up and available for new opportunities. And so there'll be an election in the fall of 2026. And so if you or anyone you know that's interested or think and hankering of, hey, parks are pretty cool and I'd like to be a part of that, or hey, I think Bob, you're good for this. Send them my way and we can talk, or I can direct them to any of our commissioners to answer any questions they have. So with that, next slide, please. So we want to talk a little bit about our projects we're doing. So first we're going to start off with sort of brick and mortar projects. So we have a rehabilitation project for the Hunter Park tennis courts. Those were originally established back in the mid 1990s. And they, as you can see, the cracks in the photos and the dilapidated boards in the back, it's time for a full remodel. So we're going to be removing all 8 tennis courts and laying down new surfacing, new nets, new everything, new fencing, and bring those back up to the standard that they need to be. We are not going to start that project until August of 2026 to ensure we're not impacting Big Al's tournament and or the high school season, because the high school does utilize these facilities for their tennis season. And the goal is to have that done before Christmas, hopefully well before Christmas of 2026, and get those reopened. Unfortunately, we don't have any other courts to send people to for tennis. So for this period of time, we apologize that they won't be available. Additionally, we have out to bid right now, and we'll be breaking ground in the spring, is for East Main Community Park. So this is a replacement park for the YMCA park that was sold back around, I don't know, was that 2015, 2017. So this will be a new community park. Phase 1 is going to include, of course, a parking lot and restroom. You know, the most important things there, of course, a dog park area and a pump track, which is a bicycle focused area that you can kind of jump on and use momentum to kind of go around a little loop track. We have future phases that we're looking to do that would in the future include shade structures, a playground, and a community garden as well. So looking forward to get those 2 on the ground. And then the next big project, next slide, is our strategic plan. So our strategic plan, planning process began about a year ago. The strategic plan is called the PROS plan, or the Parks, Recreation, Open Space, and Senior Services Plan. So next slide. So we'll just provide you a high level overview of what we've done so far, why we're doing it, what you all have given to us so far through the information we have, and then get to the Q&A sessions and talk about next steps. Next slide. So the PROS plan, it has had 6 phases. We're currently in phase 5, drafting the master plan. So we had our initiation and developing that project plan, reviewing our mission, vision, values, and mandates, reviewing our existing conditions. Last winter, we conducted a community survey to look at how how we're doing and how you all are utilizing our parks. We did a reviewed demographics and conducted several focus groups, and of course assessed our current facilities and programs. We had an official first kickoff meeting on April 8th of 2025, where we provided information to date so far and started talking about level of service analysis and a needs assessment. We had our second meeting, the end of last month, was that? Middle of last month, was it the 24th, I think it was? No, it was the 15th of September, where we had our community values survey update from the results that we had from that. We looked at some of our capacity and started looking at draft level of services for public comment on. And now we're drafting the plan, developing our capital facilities plan, which is a 20-year overview of our capital needs for building new things, but primarily rebuilding and doing preventive maintenance on our existing assets. That'll go out for a 30-day public review in February, and then the goal is to have it adopted in April of 2026. Next slide. So the strategic plan covers a 10-year period. Every 10 years, we'll start doing it. This is the first one that we've had. So we're in the process right now, collecting information, looking at resource and capacities to develop two types of goals: strategic goals and service level goals. We'll take that information to help develop our biannual work plan and our capital improvement plan, and developing our budget every 2 years. So again, trying to ensure that the actions and the budgets are in alignment with our strategic direction and move forward. And then every day we act upon and do the great work that all of our team members do to deliver our programs, services, operations, and maintenance, and our projects. Next slide. So goal development, the purpose here is to develop goals that provide measurable outcomes and strategic direction. Why? Because it's important for us to report what we are doing, how we're doing it, and determine if we are achieving those goals, and make sure that as we are doing things, are we in alignment. So it's a continue recheck to ensure as we're moving forward that we're still in alignment with where we and you, the community, want us to go. Next slide. To develop those goals, we're taking the community values and current utilization information we have. We're taking our capacity and our resources, and then we're looking at existing plans and benchmarks to help develop the goals. The two types of goals we have are strategic goals and service level goals. Next slide. A strategic goal is a goal that provides direction and purpose. It should always be in alignment with your mission, vision, and values, forward focused. Or how are we going to get someplace? What is that end result? And it's a guide to help us allocate, as I said before, those resources, our budgeted programs, projects to achieve that transformational outcome. Again, goals should be actionable. They should have objectives and actions to help move us along like rungs on a ladder, so we can continue to move forward at reaching each goal. And they should be measurable. We can say X has been accomplished, or in a survey, we can say we've reached X satisfaction level. So question could be, are you satisfied with Ashland Parks? And we'd have a percentage that we want to hit of that. A service level goal is a little different in that it's a methodology that's used to determine the adequacy of a parkland, a facility, or a service. Generally, it's a ratio of X to 1,000 residents, and allows us to, again, provide our needs, and it grows or shrinks as the population grows. So we set a service level, and as our population changes, that service level changes based off of it. And most importantly is it provides a measurable outcome for the department. So if we set a schedule of 215 programs in a year, we can set that goal and then look, are we achieving that goal or not? So we can give ourselves a letter grade. Next slide. So I'm going to review the community data and community values information that we've gathered so far. Next slide. So demographically, real quick snapshot. The last census was in 2020. I heard that maybe there's one occurring this year. They were doing an interim one because COVID occurred. but I don't have that data. So in 2020, we had 21,360 residents, community members here in town. 65% of y'all have a bachelor's degree or higher. We've got just under 11,000 housing units and just over 10,000 households. Median incomes just under 72,000. Employment rate's only 54.7%. The next slide will lend you into the reason why that may be. We have 5.8% without health coverage, and 1,616 of those 21,000 are of Hispanic or Latino descent. Next slide. We are 8 years older than the average median age in Oregon. We have about 8 percentage points higher in those over the age of 65. And we are about 5 or 6 points higher in poverty in relation to the rest of Oregon, all those. The list over here to the side, I guess we call that a standing bar graph. I don't know. But boys are on the left. These are in 5-year increments from 5 to 85 and over. Females are the gold color on the right. And so you can see that there's more women than men in town. Next slide. But when we look at this from our program perspective, we think of, well, we serve the youth. 17.5% of the population is under the age of 18. Our adult programming, 19 to 50 years old, is 34.3%. And older adults over the age of 50 is 48.2%. So about half the town is my age or older. Next slide. For a couple decades, we've been looking at a measurement of having a park within walkable distance from you. And when you look at this is a 1/4-mile buffer around every park property that we have. And if it's pink, that means it's within a 1/4-mile buffer. And as you look, most of the city limits and the urban growth boundary, we've got you. We've got a park close to you. So in the planning world, we can check that box that we're doing a good job of ensuring we have all kinds of parks and close to all of you. The next slide's a little bit more complicated. And Rachel, is there a highlighter function on this or whatever, a little pointer function? So we're showing two things here. So the hash mark area that's at the north end of the screen, of course, I'm pointing the screen and you can't see my finger, I apologize, but the north end of the screen, you'll see some little grayed out sort of area. Yeah, right in there. That area, and then down kind of by the university is as well. Those are two areas where we have 50 to 80 percentile people of color. And then when we look at the different colors, the darker reddish color means that we have 90 to 95 percentile of low income individuals in this area. The next little dark shader is a 80 to 90 percentile. And then that peachy salmon color on the majority of the is 50 to 80%. Anything that's white implies that there is less than 50 percentile of low income individuals. And this came from the environmental justice layers they have to assist in evaluating this kind of information. We look at this information for a lot of reasons. So based off of density of, oh, it's still there. Back one slide, please. See, this is just like, with grandkids or your kids, don't they just put crayons on over everything? It's funny to me. Anyways, we utilize that information in regards to our programming in our parks, the sort of things that we have in parks to assist to make sure that we're being equitable in how we're providing our services. When we look at our current capacity, this is a history of our park staffing. So on the left, you'll see the year 2000 with 31.9 staff members, or FTE, full-time equivalent. You'll see in 2008, we peaked at almost 51 FTE. And then in 2023, we were at 35 FTE. Today, we have 36 people employed with a potential of 39 FTE total. You can see is that we've ebbed and flowed in staffing. And then
Sounds interesting.
that orange line that shows is back in 2000, we had 637 acres of parkland. And then you'll see as today, or as of 2023, we have 811 acres, which is still current today. So what's this mean? Next slide. We've had a 25% increase in developed properties and acreage to manage. And during that same period of time, we've had a 36% decrease in our staffing level. So we have fewer people to do more work. Next slide. We conducted a maintenance management plan. That's a fancy way of looking at every task we do, times the number of assets we do that task at, time how long it takes each time to do it, times what the frequency of that is, and then that equals how many hours per task. So we did that for every property, over 300 different tasks, looking at about 130,000 data points. And what that showed us for routine maintenance only. So if we have a winter storm and a bunch of trees come down and we have to push snow, that's not routine maintenance. This is cleaning restrooms, mowing grass, that sort of stuff. Next slide. So our MMP, or maintenance management plan, identified about 140,000 hours of routine maintenance tasks. However, we only have about 46,000 hours of staff time to do that work. Now we hire contractors, seasonal help, and volunteers. And about 4,000 hours actually is for Food and Friends, which isn't our program. But we have about a third to a half of the manpower, people power to do the routine maintenance we have. So what that means is we're not able to do everything that we want to do. We may only empty a trash can once a day instead of twice a day in Lithia Park. We only clean a restroom once a day instead of twice a day in Lithia Park. So we have to take measured decisions based off of what we are doing and what we are not doing, and prioritizing to ensure that people are safe and are having the best time that we have with our resources. Next slide. So with the community survey that we conducted last winter, we identified that 84% of people have a park within a 10-minute walk, which compares to that map of the quarter mile pretty well. 84% of you use our parks and programs more than weekly, which is a very high number, and which is music to my ears. 63% drive to a park or program. Now, once you're here in our parks, 91% of you walk on our trails and 43% cycle on our trails. And 65% of people who took the survey have participated in a recreational program or event in the last year. Next slide. The top 3 park amenities desired in the survey were for natural areas, natural and soft surface trails, and water views and vistas. And I know I definitely like having my office here in Lithia Park and being able to step outside and hear Ashland Creek and being able to walk along it. So I concur. With satisfaction of our current conditions of a specific park, we had every park in there except for Garfield. We missed it. That's an error on our side. The 3 highest ranked was Lithia, Siskiyou Mountain, Orson Todd Woods, and North Mountain Park. The lowest ranked was Oak Knoll Golf Course, Skate Park, and Triangle Park. And I would say you should go out there now to Oak Knoll. It has definitely turned a corner over the last couple of years when we did the brown out there. Next slide. So we had a list of items identified in the question and were asked to provide what's your top priorities. And the top 3 was clean and well-maintained facilities, natural dirt walking trails, and free of charge recreation opportunities. The lowest priorities were separate areas for older adults to be with others their age, free Wi-Fi, and picnic areas and shelters for large groups. Next slide. We asked a couple key questions that we've been getting asked a lot is, do we need more tennis courts? 44.5% disagreed. Do we need more pickleball courts? 38.5% disagreed and 32% agreed. And about a third didn't said it wasn't no answer, or they didn't not applicable. And do we need a new pool? 48.1% agreed and 21% disagreed, and I think maybe that 30% does equal 100%. Last night when I was looking at that at our joint meeting, I thought the math was wrong. I think that is right. Next slide. So we had many focus groups. So we had three public open neighborhood meetings, one in the south, one in the central, and one in the north Ashland, to kind of get a perspective from each of those areas of towns in regards to those parks in their area and our services. We had a youth and families focus group, which was a survey that we had about 200 people respond to. We had a livability and economic development survey that went out to business owners, the chamber members, other event people that we've done events with us. We didn't have as good a turnout there, but we still got some information and had some other data to supplement that. We had a focus group. Now, these 4 focus groups, we had a list of community partners, activists, participants, instructors, etc., for trails, natural resources, recreation, and senior services. And so we were trying to look at all different slices of the pie to gather information on the priorities and the values, and quite frankly, to determine how are we doing. Next slide. So the next survey that we had, which was in the late spring, early summer, which is our community values survey, when we had identified a list of programs and options, the 3 highest ranked were maintain existing parking facilities, meet recreational needs of the community, operate youth recreation programs. The lowest ranked was operate the golf course, invest in equipment that it reduces fossil fuel usage, and operate the ice skating rink. Next slide. So then we asked a question of, hey, if we give you $100 or $100 million on park projects and operations, how would you spend it? Next slide. Well, luckily for me, $25 out of every 100 would be spent on maintenance and repair of existing parks, which is great to ensure that we continue to maintain what we have. However, you notice is all the other things is somewhere between 7 to 17%. So y'all want us to do all the great things we're already doing. We want to develop new educational amenities and programs, develop new trails, acquire new parklands, increase senior programs, increase recreation programs, and development of new recreational center that includes a pool and senior center, and development of new park amenities at existing parks. The issue is, of course, we probably don't have the money to do all those things. And so, next slide, we asked a series of questions on, well, how would we pay for this? Here, and we identified a list of, I think it was 9 different funding source options, and the highest ranked was a transient lodging tax, the general fund, and the food and beverage reauthorization. The lowest ranked was parking fees, a special district for parks, and a park levy. Park levy is a 5-year tax on property tax. Special district would be a separate property tax that would be dedicated funding just for parks. Next slide. Then we asked, we get asked, and our park commissioners get asked to take 2 really important things and prioritize, make a decision on that. So we took good things, and some people felt not good things to determine what's your value, what is your priority. So when we asked, should we limit the use of pesticides or reduce programming or reduce maintenance of parks and pesticides? Now we asked the question a different way, and in the next slide you'll see, and it's flipped. It's kind of interesting. When we asked, well, sports fields or pickleball? Sports fields. Youth recreation or senior recreation? Youth recreation. Trails or pickleball? Trails. Pool or dog park? Pool. Youth recreation or adult recreation? Youth recreation. Next slide. And the percentage of votes is in the parentheses if I didn't say that. So here we asked that same question before. No reduction in increasing programs, no use of pesticides. So here it was flipped from the previous thing. Youth sports, adult sports, youth sports. Maintaining parks, pool, maintaining parks. Trails, golf course, trails. Pool, pickleball, pool. trails, pool trails, low-cost, high-use programs, or high-cost, low-use programs and parks, and low-cost, high-use, one out. Next slide. So what we're doing with all of this is compiling and continue to compile the information to draft that the pros plan. We'll have 2 meetings to help establish our strategic goals and our service level goals in December and January. And then in February, we'll put out the draft plan on our website and notify everyone through every means that we have for review and comment. We'll take those comments, review those, modify the pros plan as needed to then bring back a final plan to the Park Commission for April of 2026 for adoption. And then we roll up our sleeves and do the good work. And with that, I think we're at the end and ready for any questions. And I do see one that popped up that I will refer to Rachel, which is, the question is, there are many individuals that cannot access digital documents. Why is the rec guide going digital? Rachel?
Yeah, so we have been tasked over the last or this current biennium in looking at ways that we can cut back on expenses. And one of the things that is expensive to do is print and mail a program guide. And so we are in conjunction with what the city is doing with their newsletter going digital. We are going digital and saving about almost $5,000 a quarter on printing and mailing costs. Of course, we still have, I get it. I understand that some people aren't, digitally minded. And we do have our senior center newsletter that is still printed and mailed out. So if that interests you, you can get on that mailing list. But again, we're doing as much as we can with the resources that we have. And so that's kind of where we're at right now.
And I would like to add, Rachel, is in addition to that, is that we're looking at other means of getting the word out and marketing our program. So we're looking at other publications, other ways of informing and drawing attention to specific programs to, again, continue to help get that in front of everyone's eyes to help it be a great asset and get you in the door. And I see a hand raised now.
So yeah, this is Kim, and I was the one that put that question forward. It seems like it seems like the way it was done was like a total cut as opposed to providing maybe 1/2 or 1/3 of the normal thing and have the rest have it online as well. That way people who don't have access to a computer or don't know how to download yada yada would be able to request one, or you have it at the senior center and at the community somewhere in the libraries. But a total cut seems as though you're cutting out a whole bunch of our senior population having access to all that information. And there's a lot of seniors that take a lot of the classes that are in there. And I work at the senior center on Mondays, and we get a lot of phone calls on the first Monday of the new month. There's a lot of phone calls. People want to enroll in a lot of the things that are shown in the guide. And I think it was to me, I think it was too drastic a cut initially. And then you could have seen from maybe doing 1/3 where we could go from there.
And this has been a transition for a while. So we've had it digital for a couple of years now. And so this has been it feels sudden, but we have been transitioning and moving more and more people to that. And with the establishment of our rec software, where a lot of people are entering into getting on the website and creating an account and using that methodology to sign up for classes. That's another way to where even if you don't have the digital document, you do have the ability to look at programming that way. And of course, all of our staff, our customer service focused people, front lines are still going to be there to assist. And Rachel, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, so we did print the fall guide this year, so that's the current season that we're in right now, so that was printed and mailed. And so for our winter spring guide, that's the one we're transitioning to digital. And we have been talking about that for a while now. And I do think that we will continue to benchmark and evaluate how that's going and what the feedback is that we're getting. Kim, and I do want to say I hear you, and we have, this is something that our marketing team talked about together, including senior center staff, and we will continue to evaluate and look at our benchmarks and see, are we losing registration? Are we gaining registration? What's the feedback we're hearing? So I appreciate your comment, Kim. And then it looks like Peter has his hand raised.
Well, we have a question first from Phil. Is the strategic plan posted
Oh.
somewhere on your website? The plan itself is not, because it's not been completed. That won't occur until February 2026. However, we do have a project page out there, and we have all of our presentations and summaries of all those focus group meetings, the surveys we've done to date. So all that information is out there for review.
Thanks, Rocky. Peter, go ahead. You're next.
Yeah, so long years ago, Rocky, before you came and before COVID, Parks and Rec went through a long and somewhat tedious planning process to create the 100-year plan for the Parks Department. What happened to that?
A great question, Peter. So actually, it wasn't for the Parks Department. It was just for Lithia Park specifically. And actually, we adopted that in September of 2024. So that was adopted, and we are implementing that currently. Our current Windburn Way Safety Project, and maybe you guys saw some press releases out there and requests for information, is one of those projects. We are also improving our flora and fauna tour. So our 100 little tags that are out there on the ground, as well as we created the, what's the kid hike thing called, Rachel, that we
That's called track trails.
Track trails. We integrated track trails, and there's several other projects that we are working on slowly but surely. Hopefully it takes us, not 99 years, not 100 years to implement that whole plan. Usually a plan's only for 15 to 30 years, so I'm sure we'll be replanning before we get to 100 years, but it's still there. We are working on it.
Thank you.
Are there
Kim.
any? Oh, looks
Kim's
like
got
Kim
her
has
hand
another
up.
question. Go ahead, Kim. Oh, you're on mute, Kim.
Yeah,
There you
I actually have a couple. On the East Main Park. So I look like right at it. So my question is, in a previous discussion, it was mentioned that the entrance is going to be off of East Main. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then the question that I have is that entrance going to be gated after hours so there's no one using that bike thing after hours? Because it could get noisy.
Yeah, sorry, if I'm looking up and pausing, I'm trying to remember all the construction drawings. I don't believe we do have a gate at that north entrance. There is in the future when we create the community garden, there'll be a little gravel parking area for the community gardeners to load and unload. That will have a gate on it. So that's on that side there will be, but on the other side right now we don't have a gate. And if we did install a gate, our parks are open until, is it midnight? I think is the 7 a.m. to midnight. So we don't have any staff around at midnight to actually close the gate. If we did have a gate to open and close.
But
So-
there won't be lighting
Correct.
in that area. There will not be lighting.
Okay.
So
Okay, that was the next
Mhm.
question because it could get dangerous at night.
No, I understand. The only lighting we'll have is there's going to be a multi-use path that'll go from the parking lot or from East Main up to Abbott that will have some down little bollard lighting. So if you're walking through the park, you'd have a little bit of lighting only.
Okay. And then one more question. and it's dealing with the senior center.
Mhm.
Rumor has it that the senior center is going to be closed and the staff and everything is going to be moved elsewhere. And my question is that true? And then if the senior center is a very vibrant location for a lot of our seniors, and a lot of our courses are held there as well.
Sure.
So is that going to happen, or is it going to stay as is? I mean, the office has so much information for people to go in, and they're not all just seniors. There's people who go in whose parents need help, and so they go in to find out for their parents. So it's a tiny little important building that serves a lot of important seniors. So is it going to be the way it is now?
Sure. So, Kim, you know what usually happens with rumors? They're usually not true. But I thank you for asking me directly. That way we can put it out on the table and hopefully squash it. So no, the senior center is not closing. What we are doing is, at the direction of our Parks Commission and our City Council, is we're not doing business as usual. So we're looking at everything that we're doing and assessing. I've asked staff to look at the programs that we do offer at the senior center, the things we do, and identify, are there programs that we can move to the Grove like we already have with, why can't I think of this
Tai Chi,
Tai Chi, thank you. See, that we should
line
play
dancing.
in line dancing, and we have one more thing in there. We have
There's
yoga.
there's a standing steady class that's happening at the Grove as well.
And so, and the reason why that is that we used to have 4 customer service people who would sit in our buildings and answer the questions. We were looking to hire one that was fully dedicated to the senior center in this budget cycle, but we only have 2 to operate what we used to have 4. And what we are doing is, with Cheryl's position, who received that position and was working temporary there, is that we are sharing Cheryl's time throughout the department. So she's getting trained up at the Grove, and we're working with Rachel and with Natalie to try to identify duplication for customer service for phone calls, so that we have more than one person that can answer the phones for senior services as well as any other department needs, as well as looking at we have rushes of signups and other things that can occur at the Grove or at the senior center. So we're looking to identify that balance to where we can hopefully keep or increase our service level for senior programs, at the same time trying to manage all of our other customer service administrative needs for the department. So no, we're not closing the senior center. We are looking at business practices and looking to see how we can offer the same number of hours, even if or more, but maybe in different ways, again, to continue to try to meet the demand.
Looks like Peter had his hand up next.
Yeah, and then Fran.
Yeah, so thinking about the East Main Park, the proposal is to build a pump track initially, which is kind of a specialized, I've never actually even heard of one, but it's something to do with bicycles. So it's not for everybody, but it's for a limited population. And then at some future time to build a playground, which seems to me to be a much more generic, high use kind of a facility. So what's the big push for bikes and not thinking about small and young children?
Sure. So pump track is for youth and adults, so it does serve the youth. And prior to me coming here, Peter, we applied for a grant from State Parks. It was $1 million we got. In that grant, we said that we were going to build a parking lot, a dog park, and a pump track. And most of the money is dedicated to the pump track. The actual name of the grant is Pump Track Development. So we have a responsibility to meet the requirements of that grant. So if we remove $1 from the pump track, I don't have $1 to move to something else. So I'm not allowed to tell the grant committee we're going to build a pump track and then build a playground. We are in the process right now, knock on wood, of applying for another grant through Land and Water Conservation Funds to construct the playground and the community garden in phase 2. If we don't get that grant, then we'll continue to pursue other options to do that. Unfortunately, when this park was proposed and developed, I think we allocated a much smaller amount of money to do the construction. Post-COVID, I don't know, for me and construction costs, they've gone from here to here. Just like my grocery bill, my beer bill, no, my food bill, all those things are going high and escalating. And so we got a cost estimate that identified we had $2.5 million dedicated for the construction. And our original cost estimate was over $5 million. So we had to phase the project. And we had to make sure that the mandates, i.e. what was in the grant, was completed. To further complicate that is that during the budgeting process this year for our current budget, there was a potential reduction in our budget of about $1.5 million. And so we paused going out to construction because we didn't want to build a project if we were going to be making that big of reductions. When we went through that process, we started up again, and council approved the utility fee for 2 years. Thank you, everyone who has the utility bill. It's hopefully you're showing that the money's going to good work and you're using all of our cool stuff. If not, get out there, use it, please. It's yours. But we had our engineering cost estimate updated, and it increased from 2.5 to $3 million to do the same amount of work. So we went through a process to kind of review, should we change the project? Should we cut some elements or add money to it? And then we resulted in identifying additional funding, which cut some of our other capital projects. And we were able to get some transient lodging tax funds, $100,000 from the city manager's office to help with the pump track. So we hopefully our bids will come in here in a few weeks and they'll be lower than we anticipated. Hopefully, and not have any change orders as we move forward.
Fran,
Thank
do you
you.
want to go ahead and ask your question?
Sure. I think that very high quality maintenance in our parks is a good investment for the community. And it looks to me like you don't have enough budget right now. I'm wondering what you think the best options and the most likely options are for increasing your maintenance budget.
That's a good question. And I think that's one that both elected bodies are tasked with trying to figure out over the next year is long-term sustainable funding. General fund, a park levy, are all secure and reliable funding sources. The problem is with general fund, there's a cap on how high property taxes can go at 3% increase per year. And there's a thing called compression, so you can't add additional taxes without there's a max, I think, of 10% that can do. So there's limitations there. We were 35% of the general fund budget back in the 20 years ago. We're now 14%. Our budget's been pretty flat through that whole period of time. And so for me, it's just, if nothing else, stabilizing the staff we have. We're switching to a task management software to help us understand what we are doing and what we aren't doing, and getting those work hours versus what our plan says versus other things. So sounding like we need more money and more staff to be able to do that. We have a great volunteer program. We have an integrated pest management policy that doesn't allow us to use pesticides, which does increase our staffing costs to do a lot of our invasive weed management, which is a good thing because poisons are poisons, even if they're applied appropriately. However, the downside is it does take more man hours and more weed eating and other issues to do that. We have a review going on with our properties. Do we have the right number of acres and properties, and looking again to determine where that is as well. So don't know if I've answered your question completely because it is a complicated and a very
No, but
voter
it's all
related.
been interesting.
It is complicated, and I think we're working with the elected bodies to see, is there something that goes out to the voters, or are there other ways to meet the needs?
Rocky, if I could just for a second, your biggest consumer of the general fund is the fire department, and the need for the fire department continues to grow in terms of medical calls. So right now we have a regional study going on looking at the fire service for the whole valley. Because this is true for every fire district and service. And they're really, really expensive. And so the police department, administration, finance, community development, parks are all kind of in competition with the fire department to some extent for resources. And so, public safety always wins typically when it comes for funding. And so what that means for the rest of our budgets is we continue to shrink. So I think Rocky mentioned property tax, or Rachel did, we were talking about measure 5 and 50. Until there's property tax reform, we will continue to see a 3% increase in property tax to meet what is typically a 6 to 8% increase in need at the city in terms of cost for equipment, cost for personnel, etc. A good example for one of our enterprises, they needed a vac truck, which is what we use to clean out sewer lines. It was $30,000 more than quoted because of tariffs, right? So especially right now, the city, just like everybody else, is dealing with interesting times in terms of being able to forecast expenditures and what we can expect, as well in terms of typical grant partnerships or state funding pass-throughs that we have gotten in the past aren't as stable as they once were. So how do we navigate that while trying to maintain a good level of service for the community? So the elected bodies are looking at that. The council will have a retreat on December 1st where we will go over kind of our forecasts in terms of the general fund. But there's only so many beans to fill so many cups. So we continue to navigate that.
I'm going to take a question off the chat, and then Peter, you can go after that. Does the city have a way to estimate how many youth/people are likely to use a pump track, a playground, a community garden, etc.?
It's a great question. We can make estimates based off of tools out there, but they will be swags, which is silly, wild guesses in general. So what we do know is we had a large outpouring of community support and engagement for the pump track for about 10 years prior to being developed. We have shown throughout a lot of our meetings through the pros plan a need for youth activities and easy trails, and what the pump track will provide is a training ground for people to practice their mountain biking or biking skills in a safe environment, and move up from very beginner up in a controlled environment. In regards to the playgrounds, we have 14 existing playgrounds. This would be our 15th playground. So we have assessed, benchmarked from other communities how many playgrounds per 1,000 residents or residents, and we are at a higher level than most communities our size. And then community garden, right now we are in our main one at Ashland Creek, where we have a reservation, or is that what the right list is? Reservation, or when you don't get on the list, what do they call that
We're
list?
on we
A
have
waiting
a
list.
reservation, so people who actually pay and use the plot, and then we have a wait list for
And so
people
we have
who
a
are
wait list there, and we have two smaller ones that one I think is pretty much 100% utilized. The other one is utilized for all those that are currently operational. So we've and a lot of these things came through that master planning process that was between 2019 and 2023, and so it's a reflection of what the community said they needed when we were going through that process.
Peter, you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Yeah, my last one, I promise. So I'm reading a little bit that the parks is returning to the use of Roundup.
So on park property, well, we don't use Roundup. That's a retail. So we have glyphosate is the product that we do use. So I think what you may be seeing out there on Snap, Crackle, and Pop is we in on city properties that's not parklands, we utilize herbicides to maintain that because that is an allowed use per city ordinance. And in 2024, June of 2024, the Public Works Director came to the Parks Commission to clarify that park staff can use that, spray that in those areas. And that was primarily for a public safety perspective. We had, I think, 6 or 8 claims for rocks breaking windshields and windows and things like that, as well as for a staff safety reason. So being in those medians. So by utilizing a herbicide, we are out there less frequently. Otherwise, before we were weed eating all of the weeds and those things in those beds. And so that we utilize controlled substances pursuant to our integrated pest management policy, which allows us to utilize herbicides primarily for safety reasons. So we can kill poison oak on a trail, we can kill thistles and things like that in our playing fields. And we can utilize a pesticide for hornets that are a public safety issue in a park. And lastly, at the golf course, we can use herbicides and pesticides at the golf course. Otherwise, any other use requires us to go to the Park Commission for a one-time approval. We did that this year for the Japanese garden. We had a pine beetle infestation, and we'd already lost 3 black pines the previous year at $30,000 or $40,000 to replace them. So we had a pesticide injection contractor come out to do that. So.
And it looks like the last question on the chat, has the city determined how much extra insurance is going to be required due to the pump track?
It is in our portfolio and identified within our CIS, which is our insurance provider. I don't recall any specific call out from risk management or from them for our insurance premiums. But it's designed by the leading pump track manufacturer, Velo or American Ramp. It'll be constructed by them, and it has many safe fall zones and everything. It's a bunch of rollers. If you haven't done it, you got to find a buddy. You can borrow my bike. I can't ride a bike because my doctor won't let me, but and just go out there, and it's just you just roll over it. So it can be very mellow and mild if you want it to be.
Well, that's all the time that we have scheduled for today. I'm going to put my email and Rocky's email in the chat in case you have any other questions you want to ask. And we're really happy that you all showed up today to see our quick presentation. And again, if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to send us emails. And Sabrina, thanks for being here as well.
Yes, thanks everyone.
Bye, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks, Rachel. Thanks, Rocky.
Bye.
Thank
Bye
you.
everyone.